honestly, like I love Timmins, and for me, like 43, 45K people, depending on what you're looking for. But it's got a lot of the fundamentals that you're looking for. It's got a major hospital. Yeah. We got big mining and forestry, and we also have post-secondary education. That's a sneak thing. Don't tell nobody. But they be funneling students into Timmins. Like they be bringing big boy numbers, drugs, crime. Like, you know, if you have more people in a smaller location, it's just going to lead to conflict and friction. Where again, if you have in the A+ areas of Timmins, and you got a nice semi-detached, you got a nice starter home, it's always going to sell, it's always going to rent, and it's going to be the easiest thing in the world to manage. So for me, I'm just like, this is a no-brainer, and it's cash flowing like crazy. So of course, go buy it, man.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Morgan Little here. I am with Isaiah, aka Mr. Henry, real estate investor, realtor for now, former police officer, government worker, all around good guy, has a purpose, mission driven. We're going to get into how he got into real estate and his philosophy around it. It's going to be exciting. Let's do it.
Stay tuned.
Isaiah, Mr. Henry, real estate investor / realtor, maybe for now.
For now, we'll see.
Former police officer.
Yes, sir.
Many other things we'll get into. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
So let's dive right into it. Yeah, you are currently a realtor.
That is correct.
That's not going to last that long though, potentially?
Yeah, if I'm being like 100% honest, don't get me wrong. Being a realtor is very cool, but I was an investor first, like always an investor first. I got my investor hat, started doing deals that way, was wholesaling. And I would say definitely 90% of my real estate success has come from being an investor. So I was like, oh my gosh, like let me get the realtor hat on. And I got it kind of early too, but I put the realtor hat on and a number of things have happened as I've had that has made me question, like, why am I doing this realtor thing? Like for instance, I got to pay a lot of fees, man. Like when you're an investor, I'm telling you, put on a couple pairs of track pants, you go out there and you're just slinging deals. You're talking to sellers, you're dealing with investors, you're raising capital. Like I feel like I was having a blast going out. You're going to events and there's no overarching legislation or body that's governing what you're doing. But then you put the realtor hat on. Let's start paying RICO fees. Let's start paying OREA fees. I got all these forms I got to sign. Everything's got to be, you know, calm, cool, collected, done up to the T. Where if you want to be a little bit more raw and uncut, I'm not saying we're doing like illegal stuff, but it's different, right? So there's that. Like I was really big in wholesaling, or not really big, but like a big part of my business was like wholesaling or off market leads. And as a realtor, it just makes it so much more difficult. I also invest at a distance. So I'm in Durham. So that's either like DRAR or it's CLAR now, and then TREB. But I invest long distance where I'm in like Timmins and Sudbury, which are different boards. So now I have to go get access to those boards and complicate myself there when I'm working with my realtor partners farther away. They're like, oh man, like you're making this so difficult. I'm like, I know. So there's that. And then honestly, some clients, they don't got it. Like, you know, especially when you're dealing with residential clients, like I'm so used to making decisions based off numbers and like returns and like, this is a good decision because X, Y, and Z versus you show someone 50 houses and they're like, nah. And I'm like, we just wasted like 8 hours of our day to go see 8 houses and like nobody's doing business. So yeah. And again, I get where there's the shiny object, like, you know, you see everyone says like, oh, these realtors making like 250, 300, 500 grand. That's great. But there's like 4 of them who are actually doing that. And then 4,000 who are making like 25 grand. So
absolutely
something to think about, something to play around with. But like, I definitely going to hold on to like my investor stick. Like that's where most of my business and most of my success is coming. So we'll shake this realtor thing probably to the end of the year. And then we'll have to give it a real look.
Fair enough. I feel all of that. We have a kind of similar story in terms of getting into real estate. I started wholesaling and everything as I was getting my license. I invest in Sudbury as well. I grew up there, so I have that connection there. And I also resonate with not having a job and having to adhere to regulations and all that stuff. So I get that. So it is kind of strange even to myself that I went the realtor route as well. I'm in it for the long haul, so I'm good. I'm gonna go through. 100%. I'm gonna ride it out. But I get it. I feel you on all that. How long have you been licensed?
Short, like eight months. Like this would be probably April. I guess April would be like the first full year. So a lot of people are like, oh, give it a full year and stay like that. But at the same time, like some days it like impedes my investing. Like, you know, with my portfolio, I remember, you know, as I was like really doubling down on the real estate side, content wise and stuff like that, I let a couple things like slip through the crack in my investment portfolio. Nothing major or detrimental, but I'm like, bro, like listen, if you're gonna let little stuff like that, like that's what we're building. Like it's always, I only became a realtor to get better and faster at investing. Like my goal was to take realtor profits and funnel them aggressively into, you know, more properties, flips, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But if I'm dropping the ball over here, like maybe you added too many things too early or too soon. So definitely something, you know, sit down, business plan, and, you know, really come up with a solution that's going to work, but never going to stop investing.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense. Like, and I wouldn't say give it a year, I'd say give it 5 years.
Yeah.
But if you know that it's not for you, and you're right though, my investment side of my business has really kind of taken a back seat because I'm focusing on building my retail, traditional, you know, I work with wholesalers a lot, so I'm still investing in a sense, but building out my traditional real estate business has definitely taken away from that side.
Definitely,
So I first saw you speaking at one of Corey McKinnon's events.
Nice.
And you were talking about Timmins specifically, which I resonated with just because I have a connection to Northern Ontario. Yeah. And first of all, you were a great speaker.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I'm curious. I want to touch on that too, how you like came to, if it's just a thing that you do, no big deal, or if you have some sort of like background or training in that. But yeah, I knew you as an investor, and then I was like, we had a conversation. I think you were talking about getting your license, and then I saw that you've been actually doing it. So maybe not for that long, but we'll get more into the investment side. So tell us about Timmins. How'd you get started there?
Yeah, T-Town. Okay, so I honestly, like, I love Timmins, and for me, it's just
you don't get that statement. That
I know, like no one, you're never gonna get because snapshot that. No one's gonna say that again. I've loved my experience in Timmins. I've loved what I've built. I've loved like what I'm continuing to build there. It's a small town, like 43, 45K people, depending on what you're looking for. But it's got a lot of the fundamentals that you're looking for. It's got a major hospital. Yeah. We got big mining and forestry, and we also have post-secondary education. That's a sneak thing. Don't tell nobody. But they be funneling students into Timmins. Like they be bringing big boy numbers of international students. Yeah, right? Sure, yeah. But that doesn't come up on the population report.
Right.
So this is the thing about Timmins, like, you're looking at Toronto, Cornwall, Sudbury, or what's another market that people like? Welland, right? Yeah. You're going online, you're Googling, you're like, okay, what can I find out about this market? You're trying to take stats, calling the city. The thing about Timmins, so difficult to find that stuff online. The only way I was able to do it was like getting on the phone. So I was in a mentorship program, and one of the things was like this 100 call challenge. Yeah. So I took it a step up. I was trying to do 1,000 calls. I fell a little bit short, but in that month I did like 650 calls.
There wasn't 1,000 people to call.
No. That's it. I was done. There's no one else. I called the whole city, and that was it. But anyway, I made those 650 calls, not just to like real estate people, because that was it, that you're supposed to call like contractors, handyman. So I called all those people, and maybe that got me to my 100. But after that, I was calling any phone number, burger shops, nail salons.
Nail salon.
Oh, I'm telling you, don't let me talk about Helen. Don't let me talk about Helen. Yeah. So like Helen's doing her thing, and like there's other people like that, and you really started like building a community in Timmins. And listen, I'm like this tall black guy from Durham Region. I'm going up there trying to make noise in Timmins. It doesn't always rub people the right way, but when I was able to like actually like, hey, I'm not trying to like stomp on you, like take money, like I just want to be part of this community. And like some people were like very open to it, and some people really were not. But again, it is what it is. Yeah. But I was able to kind of get a foothold in, connected with some good realtors, some good contractors, started buying my first couple properties. I tried some property management, didn't love it. So I ended up starting my own property management company. Shout out Valleydale Properties. And things have been going great. The price points are still good. Rents are like killing it up there, and I'm excited for me to keep going. I'm excited to bring clients up and keep going there. But yeah, it's a great little town.
Yeah, I mean, you made it sound like not easy, but very doable. To just go to Timmins, buy a cheap house, fix it up, rent it out. No big deal.
No big deal.
And is that your strategy? Or
it's that simple. So if I can rewind real quick, when I started real estate investing, I was like, I was a door whore. Like, I'll be straight. Like, I was like, how many doors you like? I was that guy who came to the meetup when he was new. How many doors you have? How many doors you have? Okay, you have 5. Okay, I need to get this, or I need to get more doors. And then you slowly realize, like, okay, like, what does that mean? Like, if you have 1,000 doors and they're all like cash flow negative by $100, like that's not a good thing. That's a problem.
Yep.
Versus you have 2 doors that are like, you know, $1,000 positive. Like that's a pretty decent portfolio. So I've kind of changed my mindset going into like a small but mighty investor. I want the least number of properties, least number of doors that get me to my financial goal. Like not saying I need to be like, you know, a hectamillionaire, like I got to have all this money, but like when is enough? And I think I'm starting to actually define what enough is for what my financial goals and what my lifestyle is going to be. So that's actually really refreshing for me. And then from actually like doing that, Timmins makes a lot of sense. Like this strategy wouldn't make sense if you're investing 100% in Durham region because the price points are too high. So let's just start with 4 properties. This is an example I talk with my clients. 4 properties. They're all $250,000. So for the quick math guys, that's $1 million. Right? So your portfolio is worth $1 million. Now, again, you probably took leverage out because you bought it with 20%, but imagine you pay this all down. So no debt. Now you have a real estate portfolio valued at $1 million. Now let's say each of those $250,000 properties meet the 1% rule. They rent for $2,500, right? So that's 10 grand, right? So even with a 50% expense ratio, which is still high with no debt on your properties, $5 grand a month, no problem, nice and easy, 4 single family homes. That's it. Right? So it's a very like, you know, dumbed down way. And when I kind of explain it like that, 4 properties fully paid off, meeting the 1% rule, that's $5K a month, right? And then you can do whatever you want. Again, that might not make you or your family financially free, but $5 grand a month coming in, like with no issues, that can do a lot for a lot of people. Absolutely, and that's kind of the small but mighty strategy that I'm looking at right now.
Well, that covers your basics, covers your bills, covers your lifestyle. So you're already just not worried about those things. Yes. You can now start to think at a higher level. You're not thinking day to day about, okay, I got to pay this bill and I got to pay the rent and I got to cover this or pay my mortgage, whatever it is. So yeah, that's a beautiful, you know, baseline place to start, or even just a place to be. And like, depending on your goals, you know,
that's what it's like, I've heard it in like the financial independence or FI community. Like this would be like my equivalent of like barista FI. Like, I think if I didn't have to ever work at like, you know, if you never had to work for money, like money was not an option, like what would you do? I would I don't know. I'd probably like, you know, work out for 8 hours and maybe teach a couple of people to work out too. So I'd probably get into fitness, but you know, that might not necessarily be something you do from day one because you can't scale that income to provide for you and your family. But if you have that easy 5K coming in, you can do the things that you want to do. Like maybe you want to be a firefighter, maybe you want to start a yoga studio, maybe you actually want to be a barista. Like those are all options for you. And again, I'm not going to fight with the people who want 100 doors. I want to get into the multifamily syndication, do big that and the other. But again, small but mighty investor, you get your portfolio, you remove the debt from it, you have so many options. And again, if you want to lever up again, remember, we have $1 million portfolio. If we want to lever that up again, we can take some money out of that, go buy something else, go do some other things, invest in a business, who knows? Gives me a lot of options. And I think it's an interesting strategy that I like and I hope I can share with some other people.
I think that's like huge. It's simple. And I think it's just a lot too simple for people, right? To even like think about, I could just do this and then I can do all these other things that I'm like trying to reach out to, you know, but instead of thinking, I need to buy a 60 unit off the bat so that I can live that lifestyle. And you could get to that point for sure. But I think a lot of people miss all those steps in between. Why single families versus multifamily?
Great question. So again, when I was more in that door whore mentality, I was like,
you were the first time you said, I thought you were going to say, I was adorable when I first started. Oh, I was like, okay. Door whore.
Yeah, definitely. So when you get into like multifamily, and again, it's great, especially if you're in commercial family, I understand the income approach. I understand how to add value there. I actually went like really into it. I really understood it, talked with a lot of mortgage brokers and lenders. Like I understood it at a high level. However, especially in Timmins where you are, the tenant quality really sucks. And as you get to the bigger buildings, like your tenant quality is obviously worse than single family. That's just a fact. Like I'm not going to argue that with someone. But again, if you have single family homes, you put a nice family in it. I guarantee my rent. Shout out to Single Key. And we guarantee our rent. So I'm not worried about these guys not paying. I have 4 tenants, $2,500. Like everything's at 1%. My ease of management is like 0. Like I have single families right now that I forget I own until the first of the month and they pay me rent. I'm like, oh crap. Yeah, I should probably check to make sure that house is still a thing. But like, the ease of management is so good for me. They stay for like, 2 to 5 years. It's a lot easier to build that portfolio. I'm not worried about tenant turnover. They don't call me because they don't really want me in their house. Like, they got 2 mom, dad, or 2 parents, a kid and a dog. They're just living life. They just want to pay their rent, live their life. They don't really want this interaction. Whereas I find single, like 1 unit and 2 units, sometimes it's like a battle, like landlords. Like I don't always feel that they see the value that they're providing. But like when I do a nice burr and I do up this property nice, I go that extra, I go stainless steel washers, I do some nice MDF baseboards, I caulk the top of it. I don't just leave it, like I put caulking around everything. Like this place is nice. The single family appreciates it. The 2-unit or bachelor pad is like, ugh, it's kind of cold in here. It's damp. They're always complaining.
Right.
And it's just not something I want to grow my portfolio off of. So I've stuck with the singles, and I've actually seen a lot of success.
Right. And there's only so many. I mean, in Timmins, there's definitely a lot of 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
But there's not much more than that. There's not larger buildings, right?
And
like,
when you get into
part.
those, now we're talking like, you know, a lot of people on assistance, which I have no issues with. But again, it comes with, you know, drugs, crime. Like, you know, if you have more people in a smaller location, it's just going to lead to conflict and friction. Where again, if you have in the A+ areas of Timmins, and you got a nice semi-detached, you got a nice starter home, it's always going to sell, it's always going to rent, and it's going to be the easiest thing in the world to manage. So for me, I'm just like, this is a no-brainer. And, and it's cash flowing like crazy. So of course, go buy it, man.
Right. And I had something else there to say that I lost. But so how did you get to this place? Like, how did you get into the investment world from being a police officer in the past, I think bylaw officer as well? What led you into this?
Great question. So I actually got into it before I was a police officer, but police officer changed. So let me just take you back there. So I've always been a government worker. I don't know how it worked, but like I've always been a government worker. I was like a lifeguard. Then I did some other stuff for the city of Pickering when I was there. Then I went on like to my law enforcement career, did a brief stint with the ministry, but again, always been government. Right. Don't know why. So I've never really smelt the corporate side of the world. So when I was a government employee, I knew my paycheck. I knew what it was. There was like a pre-con in Scarborough. I think it was like 20 or something. And I just saw like all these pre-cons, the prices kept going up. And I was like, oh, I can do this. I saw this one thing, news advertiser on a Saturday, pre-cons were starting at like low 200s. And I know, right? In Scarborough, right? And I did the math. I'm like, so I'm working at the pool. I'm doing the math. And
what year is this?
2017, or I guess 2016, because I got it January 2017. Right. So I'm doing the math. I'm like, okay, I make this much of the pool. If I work a couple extra guard shifts, I'm like, oh, I can do this deposit structure because it was 3 years to get up to 5%. So I gotta come downstairs. I'm like, yo, mom, we got to go buy a condo on Saturday. She's like, what? I'm like, don't worry, just get in the car. Anyway, we did it. Like stack of paperwork, like this big. But anyway, we made it happen. 6 months later, they released phase 2. I'm up $250K on equity right there. I said, Mom, we're on to something. We're on to something. Again, hold that. And I start learning a little bit more. Pick up one in Oshawa. That was just like an easy, like straight numbers, like buy and hold. This is the rent. Do all yours. Expect like, hey, we're cash flow positive. Did that. And then I got way more into like the Burr method, long distance investing. That's how I grew. But the real turning point for me was when I got on with Toronto Police. And I was like, oh, great. I'm great for the next 30 years. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm ready to go. I'm going to have a 6-figure job, like all secured. And then I saw guys like 10, 15 years ahead of me. They look like garbage, like beat up. Like these guys who were like 30 look like they're 80. Like they age so bad. They're not looking good. I'm like, hey, like, how's your like finance life? They're like, oh, bro, I'm broke. I got maxed out with 8 credit cards. I'm like, how? Like you make 130 grand. Like, what do you mean you're broke, right? Oh, I'm on my 3rd wife. This girl takes this much from me. I got these cars. I'm like, wow, this is not a life that I want to live. Now, being completely frank, I did not leave the Toronto Police Service on good terms. It did not end well, but we moved on from that. We've transitioned. But I said, there's got to be something more to this. And that's kind of where I started doubling down on real estate and just being like, it's okay to have a job. I don't care. Like, you know, everyone wants to get out of their 9 to 5. I think if you get an easy 9 to 5, just keep it. It's all good. Right. So keep your 9 to 5 and then grow the real estate. Because when I was transitioning from Toronto Police to my next job, there was like 4 months where I didn't know what I was going to do. I was kind of in this lost place, but my real estate portfolio just propped me up. Like I wasn't concerned. Like I still had like rent to pay, like bills to pay, but my real estate portfolio kept me up. So it's like, if I can do more of this, there's no way that I can't live the life that I want to live. And that's kind of been my thought process. And things have been working pretty well for me.
So you came by it honestly.
Yeah.
Like you didn't find a community first and find a guru and dive into that whole thing. You just kind of organically worked your way 100%. Up there,
yeah. Like my parents didn't even push me. Like
you pushed them. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Like they own their own house, but like they were never like investing. Sure. My dad was always like a big side hustle. My dad always had something going on, which was nice. And I think that always taught me that extra work ethic. Yeah. But I don't know, even at university, I was like, when I was looking at student houses and doing the numbers, my landlord, I had like 9 guys in like this house, all paying like $500. I'm like, bro, you're making a bunch of money. Again, I didn't really conceptualize it, but I always saw real estate. I recognized it, but I didn't really act on it until I saw things a little bit later. And then obviously after that, condo did that. We had that big market boom, like where everything went up. I was like, oh man, we got to get into real estate. And then, you know, I will say, knock on wood, I got in a little early. Like if I tried to do my strategy now, slower, I would just have to be more impactful. Like the market definitely helped ride me up, which helped me move a little bit faster. Right. But definitely the things I'm doing now, you can still do in 2023, which is what I like.
Speaking of, and this is the thing that I forgot about a few minutes ago, but talking about side hustles. Yeah. So you have some upsells that you do. Yeah. I heard you talk about when you spoke at Corey's thing. So talk about your upsells and how you kind of add extra value and then create some extra income in your properties.
Yeah, you know, single family homes, like, you know, it's like, oh, you got to have 2 units, get all that. I totally get that, but there's definitely other ways to do it. So a lot of things we can do is like for like your tenants need insurance. So instead of just letting them go get whatever insurance, which again, they're free to do that. Don't let the landlord tenant board come after me. But in my welcome package, I have specific insurance providers. I'm saying, hey, these would be good. And I have referrals with them. So if they, you know, if you're a tenant and you need insurance and this guy's already given it to me, boom, no problem. I would say 8 out of 10 times they pick one of those. You get referral fees off that, little extra income to the top of that. When they're coming in, I actually don't put appliances in there when they start. I have them ready, but I always let them know, it's like, hey, we have these base level white refurbished appliances. If you'd like to go up another level, we can definitely do that. We'll still service them and all that. So we just buy them and then they just almost like rent to own them back. So again, you're getting a little upsell there. Yeah. You're getting nicer stuff in your property. And again, when the appraisers come in, they love it because you got all the stainless steel stuff, washer dryer, everything looks good. So again, we're not trying to take money from the tenant, but we're trying to maximize the cash of the property there. We're renting out make sure all your garages are rented. If I have a garage on the property, always separate. Like it doesn't come in the lease. Right. If they want it, it's always going to be something separate because they may want it for a couple of years and say, hey, I don't want to pay this extra $250. No problem. We'll put it on the open market and see if we can rent it out as well. What other things do we do there? I think the appliances, like that's what I've really been.
Yeah, I love that.
That's been my favorite.
Because you're giving people an option. Yeah. You're giving them almost pride of ownership too, because they're like, you know, oh, I can have that. My place will be a little nicer. They'll take care of it more. Because that's another thing. You know, with the multis, you don't get that same. No,
they're staying. They're not living there. They're staying there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's big, man. Did you think of that all by yourself?
No, my gosh. Oh no. Listen, I am like the laziest investor ever. Like everything that I've done, everyone else has already done, and I just do it. So sometimes when I'm doing these things, I was like, oh, Isaiah, that's such a good idea. I'm like if you listen to the amount of podcasts that I do, like all these stuff's out there. Like I got the appliance idea off some random Bigger Pockets episode. Nice, But again, like I feel like when you're in it, like when you're in the game, you're in it and you just like pick up these little things that you hear from things like, oh, that's really good. And that'll work in my business. Or like, because you'll hear stuff about like multifamily stuff, but it doesn't really apply to me, which is fine. But then you hear these little nuggets here and there. I'm like, okay, that's good. Rent out that. Or I could be maximizing it this way. Oh, make sure you're calling your insurance every 6 months to lower that. Like you're just picking up little things. Right. And I feel the more you're able to put in your investment basket, you just become a better investor.
But the difference is you take those and apply them.
Yes, you got to.
But that's the big difference between like 99% of people, right? Is they'll listen to all the podcasts, they'll go to the conferences, read the books, but don't apply the knowledge.
Yeah, and that's like the thing that I think real estate gets a bad rap for, right? Like everyone's like, you know, especially the courses and like, you know, the guru stuff. You come into my 2-day seminar and they, you know, you pay $500, then they upsell you to go to the back. They pay this package. And again, I got no problem with mentorship and everything, but I feel there's so much you can do on your own. There's like so much. And I don't feel you need mentorship until you get to a point that you've plateaued. Because if you're going to mentorship and you don't have a problem to solve, you're just getting all this information. I'll give you one quick example and we'll move there. So like big sports guy, workout. I don't know if you can see this guy's biceps, definitely works out. So when if I gave you all these books about working out, but you've never lifted a weight before, it wouldn't make sense. But since you work out and you're doing your bicep curls, you're doing chest. I'm a CrossFit guy, so you're like doing a muscle up. When you do that and then you read about it, you're like, oh, I get it because I'm actually in this and I'm doing it. The stuff that I'm reading or hearing, I can actually apply to my workout, my business, my real estate. So I tell people, just get in the game and then everything 100%. You learn in here will actually make sense. So that's the biggest thing.
Getting your real estate license is very similar. Yes. You don't learn anything getting your license. You start learning the day you get your license and start working.
Correct.
And that's, I think, why a lot of people fail. I don't know what the failure rate is. It's massive.
High, yes.
But because they're just like, okay, where are the deals? Why aren't they coming my way?
I have a license. Like I should be like, don't I get a license and make 250? Like I thought that was the deal. And they don't realize like there's this massive learning gap in the middle between their license and actually that income
And
goal.
you just got to get in the trenches and do it.
And fight. Yeah.
So you mentioned you're in CrossFit.
Yes.
That was the first time you mentioned it today.
I know. I literally had to bite my tongue the whole time because, every CrossFit guy, I'm surprised I have my shirt on still.
Yeah.
Like they come in, P.S. I do CrossFit, right? Doing muscle ups and
real thing.
burpees all over the place. But yeah, I do love it. So if you want to talk about it for the next half hour, we can do it.
I'm good. I want to do muscle ups, but I had shoulder surgery and I just can't do it.
That's okay. We'll get you to the box and we'll get you up there.
Yeah.
We'll get you up there.
I need a mentor.
I'll tell you, I'm ready.
Just to tell me about it. But yeah, no, it's a very real thing. And I don't know, what advice do you have? I mean, just get out there and do it, I guess. But for people getting into real estate investing, especially now where the market is now, because like you said, the market propped you up for a while and has done that for a lot of people. And what's the quote when the tide goes down, you see who's swimming naked?
Yeah, 100%.
So people getting in now,
you know what? And every realtor is like, oh, this is like, there's this like meme on TikTok. Like every realtor will always say it's a great time to buy. Like, but hey, guys, we got to make our money too. Like, relax.
Look at my TikTok,
right?
You see those videos.
but I actually mean there's always a great time to buy. But I think you need to, like, I wrote a book. It's called The Rookie Real Estate Investor, and it kind of goes over the 7 frameworks, right? And one of the stages is identify your financial stage. Now, I'll be honest with y'all. I was broke when I started. I was working at the pool. I had like an '05 Impala. Like I had no money. So like I couldn't be doing these investment strategies that were maybe a little bit more sexy because you have a lot of money. So if you don't have a lot of money, I think you should pick an investment strategy that it lines up where you are. Like these guys in tech industry, you're making 150 grand. They can afford to be negative like 250.
Right.
They can go buy these investments in Toronto and maybe rely a little bit more on appreciation based on their financial position. However, if you're maybe on the lower side and you don't have that income that can consistently cover a negative cash flowing property, maybe you need to start wholesaling. Maybe you need to start flipping with a partner, or maybe go to a tertiary market like T-Town and find one of those lower priced properties that are going to cash flow. So I always say investing works. It's just, where does it work and what strategy are you doing there? And in my thing, if you can figure out how to burr, I think that's going to be the best thing, because if you can figure out to burr, you learn a lot about real estate. You learn about the renovation. You learn about finding good deals. You learn about like financing, because you're usually going to do private or something creative on one of the sides, and you learn how to like actually do a buy and hold rental. So if you can figure that out, whether you burr the rest of your portfolio, or whether you do one burr and go from there, there's so much you can do. So, and you can burn any market. It's just actually about finding that good deal in the front end.
And you've learned how to build a team.
Yes,
which is probably the most important part.
100%. Yeah. Shout out to Valleydale Properties, because they hold the whole thing down.
And Helen.
Yeah, right? And Helen. Oh, yeah. She just comes around now. She just comes around.
That's great.
She won't work for me though. She says she's too busy with her stuff, but that's okay. She's adorable.
Yeah. That's great. And so public speaking, has that been a thing, or is that just kind of your personality?
I talk a lot. I did, when I was at university, I went to Laurier. They had this pitch competition. Okay. And that was like probably the most excited I've been for schoolwork in a while. And it was really cool. Like you got up there, like you really like actually had to like like you couldn't just go up there and talk. Like there was like things you actually had to go and like deliver with cadence and, speech and pitch, and like figure that out. And I feel like those 3 months when I worked on that actually really helped me, or maybe like increased my speaking abilities. I've never had a problem with public speaking, like confidence and stuff. That was always fine. But really actually doing this, like I can deliver like a really impactful speech. Yeah. Like I know how to hold the audience and bring them back. Like you can do all that different stuff with that. Like I think it's like really cool. Like, right? As soon as you get like that, right? It's like, it's very cool. So, but I've always been a public speaker, never been a strong writer, or I have an opportunity to be a better writer. So anytime that I would write, I would say, is there a way that I can speak this instead? And that's always like done better. That's why I think like, content and like social media, like that's been better for me, because like I've never been like, writing's never been my strong suit. Right. It's much easier for me to speak and be on camera and stuff like that.
And so in terms of your content, are you focused much on your content? Are you putting out a lot? What's your focus? What's the goal with putting out content?
Yeah. So we're putting out, I would say 15 pieces of content a week, maybe 20.
Okay.
That's across everything.
Yep.
And we got a great little team going on right now. I got 2 editors and then a virtual assistant there. It makes it seem like I'm this big bad real estate investor. No, it's not that serious. Like there's so many resources to kind of get that's like very low key or very low price as well. But anyway, the whole team's working together. And I think for me, like I was trying to like find my niche, and I think I've just found it in kind of like a little bit of comedy with a little bit of education. I say very, very little bit of education. And I found that most things go down in the DMs. When I started, I was trying to do like so much education on the front end, but people just need to like, know, and trust you. Once you get those things, everything that you actually want to get done is going to go down in the DMs. So as long as you're out there, you're showing people you're still in the industry, you're showing them that you are knowledgeable, but you have a personality, they're going to reach out in the DMs. Like I used to put on like a dress shirt and like a tie and try to deliver my content. Now I'm like, listen, if I don't have a hoodie on, something went wrong, right? So just try to be a little bit more authentic, and I think that comes off well to the people who reach out, because you can't hit everyone, but the people that you do hit are actually going to have that genuine relationship.
Yeah, you're going to resonate with who you're going to resonate with,
exactly,
regardless of what you're wearing.
You know,
right? Like, it's about what you're saying, and the humor and the comedy goes so far, right? Like you can only do so much education, like. You can watch a million videos on what does BRRRR stand for.
4 tips to
exactly.
Right. I'm like, oh, here
and we all do it. Like, you know, it's about, you know, making sure you can educate and know what you're 100%. Talking about, but really connecting with people. I think with the humor, it goes a long way. If you're inclined to that.
If that's what you, cause like I spoke with another realtor and she's not that at all, but she's very analytical, right? And she can actually like take the stats or the data and say, hey, these are the stats. This is what it means for you. And she's very good at that, which I'm like, that's really interesting. For me, context, I'm just trying to get good chuckles and be like, oh yeah, Isaiah's a realtor. Or Isaiah's in real estate. I'll ask him that question. And whoever you are, like you said, like you're going to get your tribe as long as you're out there and putting yourself forward and being authentic.
It's true though. Cause I do my market updates every month, you know, just because you got to. But it's like I'm not a data analytical kind of guy, so I try to just give context around the numbers and show what it means for somebody who might be watching, as opposed to just rattling off numbers.
Right? I think that means more to your clients. Like when they can, when you, especially as a real estate professional, can take those numbers and put them into terms that your clients or potential clients can understand and actually use. Like, I don't care that like the market is up 16%. What does that mean for me today? And if you're able to take that information, explain it, hey, in Durham, in Pickering, Ajax, this is what it means as a buyer. This is what it means for a seller. And this is how you make decisions. If you need help, I'm here. You're here. Let's make it happen. Yeah.
So what's next?
What's next? Well, we're going to have to figure out if the world wants Isaiah to be a realtor. So pray for your boy. But if I'm being honest, like I'm pretty confident that I don't see myself in the realtor shoes, because I can affect more change or help for clients. Like I loved wholesaling. I loved meeting that seller who had an issue and like, let's solve this. Like, can I buy it? Great. If not, like, oh, you don't need me to buy your house. Like, you just need to buy a truck. Like, you're stressed about your mortgage payment because your truck's broke down. I'm like, oh, let's just go find you somewhere to like get your truck done. Like, do you know like Dale's thing? He's like, oh no. I'm like, oh yeah, like go call Dale. Like he'll get your truck done. He'll give you a loaner for the day. And they're like, oh really? It's just like that kind of stuff. And like the reason I say that is because that situation happened to me when I was actually wholesaling in Sudbury, and he put me on to a contractor to help me with a flip in Sudbury, like just like that. And I was like, okay, so this is a relationship game. It's not so much a real estate game. Like you can get dollars and cents in checks, but it's all relationships that are going to lead to that. So I'd love to do a little bit more of that without like, you know, Rico standing over my back. So I think that's probably where I'm going to go. And continue to work with clients who are looking for maybe lower priced affordable properties to start or grow their portfolio up in Timmins. I'm pretty comfortable there. I've looked at some other markets, but I love the team we've built there. I love what's going on there. And I still think there's a lot of opportunity for years to come.
And so, okay, once you get to kind of a point where you've freed up enough time to do whatever it is you want, what are you going to do?
So then I think we'll look at buying some businesses.
Okay.
I've always liked the laundromat. So my brother has special needs, and not that it's ever been like a burden for like my family. Like he's very high functioning. But I've seen other families where they're maybe a little bit lower functioning, and there's just a gap. Like they didn't really know what to do, or there wasn't services provided. So I would love to have the financial time freedom and the actual time freedom to maybe like a laundromat or maybe a dollar store, and like employ some of those with special needs, give them the support, have someone there who can like actually support them. Because like I've lived, like I only know my brother as my brother, but I know other people might not look at him the same way as I do. And I would like to give an opportunity for those individuals to, just live life, have a job, like have something to look forward to every day, like be a contributing member to society, because they are. Whereas some, like, if they just go to a random grocery store or a random store, their boss might not treat them that way. But I'm like, no, I welcome it. Like whatever the challenges are, like we can build things, or we have accessibility things that can function so you can thrive, whether it's our dollar store, it's our laundromat, or it's our car wash, something like that. I think that would be cool.
Cool, man. Yeah. I love that. I love boring businesses like that. I watch a lot of Cody Sanchez. But no, that's great. And I love that you have like a purpose and a mission around it as well. So that's awesome. Good for you,
man. Thanks.
Cool. So you're not just an evil real estate investor.
No, don't believe what the forms say. The landlords are not all evil. Man, they're not all evil.
Really not, though.
No, I swear, like we're good guys. Yeah. We're doing our best out there.
There's the few bad apples that spoil the bunch.
And then there's the rest of us. We're just like, hey, just pay rent. That's all we ask.
That's all exactly. We ask. Anyways, man, I really appreciate you coming.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Like I said, when I saw you speak that time, you just, delivered well and, made it sound easy and interesting story. So happy to have you here.
Appreciate it. That's awesome.
All
Awesome.
Right,
thanks, bud.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you guys for joining us. Much appreciated. Thanks to Isaiah for being here today. Check all his links in below. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if at any time you want to book a call, my link is in the description below. Let's get it.